This is Tri-City Talk, and I'm Winnie Frankel, and our guest today is Mayor Kevin Burns. Kevin Burns has been involved with the not-for-profit industry for more than 30 years, serving in executive positions with organizations including the Muscular Dystrophy Association, Jerry Lewis Labor Day Telethon, United States Olympic Committee, United States Equestrian, United States Figure Skating, Midwestern University, Special Olympics, and most recently, Climate Action Advocacy. Born in Oak Park, Illinois, Kevin has lived in Geneva since 1974. He is a proud 1982 graduate of Geneva Community High School and 1986 alumnus of Augustana College in Rock Island, Illinois, where he earned his Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Speech Communications. Kevin is the father of 3 daughters, Emma, Grace, and Florence, and the grandfather of Micah, Bosco, Murphy, Baker, Jones, and Banks. Kevin has served on the Geneva Library Board, Geneva Historic Preservation Committee, Geneva Planning and Zoning Committee, City Council, and as Geneva Mayor, the city's longest-serving mayor since 2001. In addition to his service as mayor, Kevin serves on the executive board of the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, a nonpartisan membership organization of 275 cities, towns, and villages throughout northeastern Illinois, representing more than 9 million residents, and served as its chair from 2024 to 2025. Kevin is chair of the caucus's Environment and Energy Committee since 2016 and helps lead the largest municipal-led volunteer climate action collaboration in the United States. Kevin and his partner Amy live on Caneville Road, just west of downtown Geneva. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, that's a lovely bio, and I think
it's all made up. I got it from ChatGPT.
Yeah, they'll do that for you. Our first episode is about AI. We'll have to touch base on that.
Good.
Yeah,
Exciting.
No, what I wanted to highlight, and I think the first thing that jumps out at me in your bio is the work that you do outside of being mayor, because I think some people would be surprised to know that mayor is not, in fact, your full-time job.
That is true. In fact, most people believe that all mayors are full-time. In fact, there are only few mayors in Illinois that are full-time. There are approximately 1,300 communities in Illinois. And of those 1,300, about a handful or so are actually full-time mayors. The city of Geneva, the city of St. Charles, where we're broadcasting from today, our friends to the south, the city of Batavia, we're all part-time mayors, earning approximately $9 an hour.
I think that comes as a big shock to a lot of people. And do you have that conversation with people ever?
Oftentimes.
Yeah.
In fact, the most frequent question is, when are your office hours? When can I come see you? And I prefer to come see people on their own turf, as it were. Hanging out at City Hall is one thing, but that's not really where the work is done. So when I can build my own schedule based on my professional career, reflective of my community responsibilities, I like to be out and about and meet people where they are, and so I can see exactly what they're talking about, or a more comfortable environment.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons that we wanted to chat with you is because you're the mayor of Geneva. You've been the mayor for 25 years. You have so many rich stories about our community, and that's what this podcast is really about, is talking about community and how we can, work with our neighbors and celebrate our neighbors and celebrate the people that are doing good work in the community. And I think that's kind of the thing I wanted to highlight about you and the work that you do as mayor, is that it is a service role.
It is.
And it's not necessarily a role of power. And so I wanted you to talk a little bit about that and help us understand the difference between those things and how you see that play out in your role as mayor.
I love that question, and I appreciate that question. The mayor's job, irrespective of the community, is principally what is guaranteed and granted to you through the state statute. In Geneva, St. Charles, Batavia, and elsewhere, a mayor's job is really threefold: to preside over the meetings, to help hire and, if necessary, dismiss professional staff, and third, perhaps most importantly, represent the community at special events, social functions, what have you. That's it. The mayor has no authority to say, we're doing this, or we're eliminating that, or we're going to fund this, or we're going to defund that. That is up to the city council. And every action taken by any community requires a majority vote at the minimum of a city council. The mayor's job is simply to preside over the meetings where those decisions take place.
That's an excellent clarification and really important.
It is very important.
What is the most I don't know, tell me some stories about some of the conversations you've had with community members where they clearly have the idea that you have this like unilateral, universal power.
It is not infrequent, and it involves not just municipal affairs, but also schools, parks, libraries, etc. I think most people respectfully believe that with the title mayor comes with it all the authority and responsibility to circumvent debate and public discussion and just render a decision based on that individual's desire. Mm-hmm. And that's just not the case. It is not unusual for me to receive phone calls regarding concerns about the park district or, my student's an excellent student at blank school. I would like to see him or her have more opportunity too. And I have to explain very politely and discreetly that, while I have a cool title, I don't, quote, run the schools.
Yeah.
They have their own governing body, as do the parks, as do the libraries. And that's oftentimes a very light bulb moment for a lot of people, a lot of people. But it's part of the game, too. It's part of the, I think, public education. So
part of the role as a mayor is
absolutely.
to
clarify it. Exactly.
And to navigate those conversations with grace.
Precisely.
Because you're a representative of the people. You were elected by the people.
Sure,
and so one of the, fun parts about being mayor.
Stress fun. Stress fun.
Yeah, right. And I've seen you navigate that multiple times. Unfortunately, recently I saw an interaction where we were at, I think it was the Christmas walk, and there were some individuals that were it was the first time I'd seen this, and it was kind of a change in Geneva that I was sort of disappointed about. And so I'm curious about that too, where they were a bit heckly. There were people, and seemed ill-timed. I mean, it's the Christmas walk. People are having fun. It was this lovely moment for the children.
Right.
And so talk to me a little bit about that.
It's unusual when you take the stage, and I mean that broadly, and you provide some commentary, and you are stressing community involvement, togetherness, wholeness, and then there's a heckle or there's something said that perhaps stuns you. Oftentimes you're encouraged to just ignore it. My personality is to take it on first, to remind folks that we're here to celebrate the season, regardless of what that season means to you, and just move forward. Oftentimes, those kind of experiences are followed up by an email or a text. And if anyone's listening, my cell phone is 630-742-8916. People like to be engaged. People like to share their opinions and ideas, sometimes forcefully. And I will always respond, not disrespectfully, but candidly. And I hope that by doing so, it levels the playing field from here's what I want to here's what we're trying to achieve. So it's a test. In fact, some of the newer mayors oftentimes comment on that they did not expect that.
Did you have any of those experiences in 2001?
I did. In 2001, when I was first elected mayor, I was 36 years old. And some of the more veteran members of the community thought it wise to take me under their wing and tell me that, a young man like you, we think you're very talented, Kevin, but let me share with you some wisdom. And, the wisdom was well-meaning, but it was a wisdom that perhaps was best suited for a previous community that was now evolving to a different community. But people are not shy to share their opinions at all.
Indeed.
At all.
Especially in the space of local government.
Absolutely.
I think, and I'm really curious to hear your opinion on this, the evolution of people's relationship with government. I'm trying to understand a little bit about whether or not it has changed as of late and whether tell me how it's changed.
The level of input has never been as high as it is now. And the access to any and all government officials, whether it be local, whether it be municipal, library, parks, you name it, we're all available 24/7. I remember vividly when I ran for mayor in 2001, one of my pledges was to be accessible and to be responsive and to communicate regularly. Some would argue that that was the trap I set myself, and I can't undo that. And then with the advent of social media and Instagram and the DMs and Twitter and the commentary, you are there 24/7. Oftentimes when you're first in the position, whether it's mayor, council member, trustee, doesn't matter, you're inclined to want to respond right away. And oftentimes the best advice I've learned over the years is take a deep breath, reflect on what you really want to say if you need to say it, or more importantly, tweet out or post your cell phone number. Say, let's have a conversation. I'll buy you a cup of coffee. We can talk this through. 9 out of 10 times people will take you up on that. The one time when they go silent is they really didn't want to talk to you anyways. They just wanted you to know their opinion. And that's fine too.
Yeah. People are entitled to opinions.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's sort of the beauty of, the representative government that we have. What's also true is that we just generally need to be more responsive to someone having an alternate opinion and the back and forth and the dialogue that goes with that. And I really appreciate that you want to have that conversation and engage in the nuance of that because...
Well, when you texted me, I thought, oh, God, I got to text you. But I felt obligated. So.
That's not what you said. You said, heck yes.
Heck
and
yes,
that's,
I will.
I think that's sort of the beauty of the role of mayor is that
Sure.
I can comment on my personal experience working with you is that
you were chair of a very important committee, and you endured a lot of the stuff that everybody endures.
Well, it was delightful. I love the work. I love being part of the community.
Sure.
But what I experienced with you was your great capacity for facilitation. I think you said one of the major roles of being a mayor is to facilitate the meetings, and you do that very respectfully and with a lot of grace. And so in terms of that specific role, I think you do a wonderful job. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And you're very patient,
Which is ironic because I often see myself as very impatient. But I've learned over the years to tone it down. So everyone wants to see things done right away. Mm-hmm. But there's so many moving pieces sometimes that you know full well and you know instinctively that it's going to take a little bit of a time planning, putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
Well, I think people would say that that's one of their biggest frustrations with government.
Absolutely.
Is the speed in which it moves.
Right.
And why do you think it moves so much more slowly?
Because every decision made has to be made by the governing body. Kevin Burns does not have the authority to say, that's a great idea, let's do it. I'll contact the professional staff, I'll say, here's what we're going to do. I don't have the authority. So it has to go through that process of staff review, staff analysis, committee of the whole review, then council decision. And those processes alone are at least 2 months in order to execute and or say no to.
Yeah.
And that's often the case.
I think some people would say, well, you're the mayor, can't you change that?
I think a lot of mayors would love that. I think with such broad authority comes problems. Mm-hmm. And that's why I believe the role of mayor is such, to facilitate the discussion. Irrespective of how that discussion resolves, as long as everybody who leaves the room when that discussion item is taking place or being debated, people say, I had a chance, I presented my best position, I gave my remarks clearly and convincingly, I'm glad it went this way, or shucks, I wish it would have went this way, but at least I wasn't dismissed. And that is the art of governing, whether you're a council member or the mayor. Because one thing I hear often from new council members is it's a different world when you're on the dais and people are petitioning their government for something and you disagree based on your own opinions. It's a tough thing to do because you want to help everyone.
Right. That's why you got into this role.
Sure.
It's, a service role, ultimately.
It is.
I think the other thing I would say about your relationship with, mayoral work and what others might have thoughts about is that I think people, they relate being a mayor to being a CEO because conceptually I think people understand business better than they do government.
Sure.
And so they think of the mayor as being the CEO of an organization. And one of the things you said regularly is that that's not the case.
Correct.
And you can confirm that.
I can. The difference between CEO and CEO in government is the E stands for elected, not executive. And I may be the chief elected officer or official, but I don't have the authority of a CEO who can say, here's how we're doing it, period. And it's a tough lesson to learn, particularly for the general public, because again, that title seems to be so grand, and they think of the CEO the mayor from the episode of The Simpsons,
Yeah.
doing anything and everything he or she can, and that's just not the case.
Yeah, I think the conversation I've had with others, even recently, is that you have a vision for the city, that we have to follow your vision for the city. And talk about the difference between your vision and the city's vision.
Everyone comes to the table with their own vision, no question. The process is that you need to either state very eloquently, very clearly, very convincingly why your vision should supersede someone else's. And through that process, of course, we get the, quote, community's vision statement and core principles of the vision we adopt as a council. So I can say very confidently today that the strategic planning vision for Geneva in 2030, the 6 core principles are my vision, because that vision was created by more, and you know this, by more than 1,000 people who participated, who debated, who discussed, who disagreed, who pushed, who pressed, who progged. And that's how it works. Mm-hmm. So my job as mayor, as chief elected officer, as perhaps chief ambassador and or cheerleader, is to advance that vision. Does it have everything Kevin Burns wanted? No. But it went through the process, and this is how we adopted it.
Yeah. Okay, so this is probably a question that I'm not sure you can answer. But if there is something that was your vision, just yours, something that you think should be happening in Geneva or should be done, can you give us an insight that maybe isn't being done right now? Is there something you would do? If you did have unilateral control?
Sure. I've always envisioned a more robust public sculpture presence throughout the community. In fact, I argued for, and I thought I did a pretty good job, that we're all familiar with Geneva's beautification program and how our knuckles, the corners of intersections, look so beautiful, with gratitude and appreciation to the beautification committee, of course. But during the late fall, winter, and early spring months, they're empty. Wouldn't those be wonderful locations for artists, sculptors, however, to display their work? And I think at first everyone thinks, that'd be great. Here's the challenge. How do you install those? The insurance for them, to ensure they're not vandalized, to make certain they're safe, how to return them to the artists, on and on and on and on and on. I did not think that through originally, but my gut tells me it can be done someday. Maybe the solution is to partner with the Park District and others and create a swath of land where we have a sculpture park, much like our friends in St. Charles have St. Mary's Park. And it'd be a lovely draw to a whole different group of people who want to come and experience the arts in that way.
Absolutely.
But you know what? You have a chance to speak your mind, to forcefully and respectfully address your own thoughts and visions, and either people say, love it, or let's move on. And that's fine.
Well, I love it.
Yeah, good. And we're getting lots of feelers out there, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to any idea than just simply the idea.
Right. I have to admit, I'm a little surprised to hear that your answer. I'm surprised and excited actually to hear that your answer is the arts. Really, I think there are a lot of people, potentially even listeners, who would immediately want you to say something about the economy and the economy of Geneva, because I think, given my experience in the strategic plan and the conversations that I have with our residents, I think that's a direction that people have a tendency to go immediately.
I think you're right.
So talk to me about that a little bit.
We can never dissuade, anyone can never dissuade me that enhancement of the arts is not also enhancement of the economy. We know that. We know that every dollar spent on the arts produces $6 in return. We know that. That's statistically proven. Data drives those decisions. The economy in Geneva ebbs and flows based on all sorts of factors. It could be weather. It could be construction. It could be choice of opportunity. Oftentimes, our economic development team fields questions from folks who want to open a business in Geneva. And oftentimes, the first question asked by these prospective business owners is, will my business fit the culture, the charm, the ethos of the community? And the most difficult answer to respond to is it might not. Here's who we are. Here's what we want to become. We think this particular business will be great. Or have you thought about a different vision for your business? When I first became mayor, I believe we had approximately 15 restaurants in Geneva. We have well over 150 now. And the argument for that and other businesses are, we have enough. Do we? Or does the economy determine that?
Interesting.
If a restaurateur says, I want to open a restaurant in Geneva, my job is not to say, well, gosh, we already have plenty, but thank you. Because their vision is, I have a niche market. I know I can serve this community well and others who come to the community. And you know as well as anybody, Winnie, 80+% of all dollars spent in Geneva are from folks outside the 60134 zip code.
And wouldn't they love to see some sculptures downtown?
I know. It'd be cool. It'd be cool. Recognizing our artists, whether it be high school artists, whether it be professional sculptures, that'd be cool.
It's a really intriguing idea for sure. Thank you
We'll
for
see where it
sharing
goes.
that. Yeah. So speaking of, our neighbors to the north, St. Charles, where we happen to be recording
My
this.
first time in St. Charles, so thank you very much for the visit. It's wonderful.
Making friends with everyone in the library lobby, of course. Some of the additional listeners and some of the people that we talk to in Geneva have noticed some changes, some progress being made in St. Charles, and they will often compare. That's something that people in Geneva, Batavia, St. Charles, I feel, do pretty regularly is what's the difference here, what's the difference here? And I think I've heard out and about some conversation about Geneva, seeing that St. Charles has made some really wonderful progress in terms of its businesses, its economy, its growth downtown.
Right.
And I don't know if envy is the appropriate word, but certainly questioning why it is that Geneva can't make those same leaps. So can you talk to us a little bit about that and why those things are different and how to compare and contrast?
I'm so glad you brought that up. What was it, January of 25? January of 26, I wrote a newsletter article, I believe. It was that date. And the theme of the article was, comparison is the thief of joy. And the more we, Geneva, compare ourselves to other communities and wish that we were like them, we tend to lose sight of why we believe and why we are a good community still. Can we be like St. Charles? The answer is no. Can we be like Batavia? Can we be like Naperville? Can we be like LaGrange? The answer is no. We are physically different, therefore we can never achieve what they achieve, the broad they. We should reflect on what we do well and continue to do so and amend accordingly. Growth in St. Charles, particularly in the downtown, has come with great fanfare and come with great challenges. We know that. You ask the long-timers in St. Charles, the new-timers who say, oh, I love it. I love having that cool grocery store downtown. That is fantastic. I love the bigger buildings, the density. And again, you're familiar with this, but we have part of our core strategic plan is to welcome more density in Geneva, particularly in the downtown, the historic downtown, which is from East Side Drive to Anderson Boulevard. And then when density-driven ideas come forward for consideration, they're often met with a dramatic pause. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
And what do you attribute that pause to? I mean,
Well, the access to and the pressure driven from our friends on social media. This is not Geneva. Yet no one has ever, in my 53 years of living here, given me a definition of what Geneva is. Right. So if a 4-story apartment building with 200 units is not Geneva, then what is Geneva? Only single-family homes? If density means that we have a first-floor retail with 2 floors above that are apartments, rentals, condos, you name it, and the first response is, that's just not Geneva. Tell me what Geneva is then.
Right.
Then we can work with our developers. But that answer has not been clear. I don't think that answer ever will be clear.
I think what this touches on lightly, and maybe you can agree or disagree,
Sure.
is one of the reasons that I like local government. And one of the things I noticed about you is that you ran as an independent.
Of course.
And so from a political standpoint, some of the conversations have started to turn in local government,
Yes.
but the reality is that it's not really a partisan matter.
It's not at
And
all.
so I've noticed it starting to creep into some of the conversations that we're having, but it's not really the undercurrent of what a local community government does. And has that been playing a part in some of the ways in which people are approaching some of these conversations about what Geneva is?
Without question. Every community in Illinois is nonpartisan except for Chicago. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe maybe Rockford and a few others. But otherwise, everyone runs as independent. And that should be the case. Potholes aren't a partisan issue. Garbage collection, recycling is not a partisan issue. However, partisanship enters the equation when proposals are made that gain the attention of the residents. And in my opinion, the residents often choose what that partisan angle might be in order to attract perhaps greater participation from those like-minded individuals. And that begins certainly at the state level, but it often seeps down. And as you and I live in Geneva, we have representatives from both parties in Springfield, from both parties in the House. We work with, irrespective of their party affiliation, them on grant funding, on support, on transportation needs, what have you. But it is surprising to me that when a particular issue arises in Geneva, and I think the other mayors would agree, that all of a sudden, it's not just us versus them, it's red versus blue. It's, this is typical of those, quote, liberals, or this is typical of those, quote, conservatives. And it's really unfortunate because at the end of the day, we are a community of 10 square miles, 22,000 people. We all work together to provide the best we can for the community we love. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're not, but it doesn't mean you stop trying.
Absolutely. Well said. So if you were giving any advice to the community members or to the people who live in Geneva about how to participate meaningfully, what would you say?
First and foremost, call me. Give me a holler, excuse me, or send me a text and sit down with an open mind and say, I want to get involved or I want to change something. How do I do this? I don't want to go to those council meetings. I get kind of nervous when I talk in public. And I respect that. In fact, I will challenge any other community. I believe Geneva is the only community in the surrounding area that does not have a time limit on folks who wish to speak before the council. Now, we do recommend that you be cogent and not drone on, as it were, but other communities say, okay, the clock's ticking, you have 3 minutes, give us your opinion. That adds to the discomfort oftentimes and adds to that mystery of addressing your governing board on positions that you find important. You want to have a conversation about what and how things get done? Give me a holler. My most enjoyable experience was talking to high school kids who had this understanding of local government but not fully matured yet in terms of the process. And that's where you see these eyes open thinking, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I get it.
Yeah. I think one of the things you mentioned is creating an opportunity for everyone to be able to speak at the meetings.
Absolutely.
I think this comes back a little bit in my observation. People feel really vulnerable when it comes to the experience with their government because they're, to a certain extent, there's some control there.
Sure.
Government has the ability to enact policies, to tax us. And I think to a certain extent, people have a tendency to lump some of their feelings of vulnerability onto this body to say, it's you're taxing, you're taking my money, I can't,
Bingo.
and that's, and I understand that, I can validate that those feelings are totally real and we all experience them, but also sometimes they're slightly misplaced. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have a relationship with our government sometimes where the government is, in fact, taking advantage. So that's what makes it really difficult, is traversing that nuance between what is really happening in this situation. Is someone trying to take advantage? Are they trying to do something for my community? How does this truly impact me directly? And what is my responsibility as a community member to participate in that meaningfully?
Yes, it's all your fault. You didn't read my mind. You didn't come to my door and tell me. I never received word from you. I just found out about this.
Absolutely.
And I understand that. There is no reason why anyone in Geneva should not know about what's percolating at the council or committee of the whole level if they simply take about 5 clicks and sign up for the
newsletter,
bingo.
the Instagram alerts, everything is there.
Everything's there.
Transparency is always number one.
It's almost Casper the Friendly Ghost transparency.
Right.
And I will tell you this, and your listeners now, that developers are often surprised at how transparent Geneva is, do you have to be that transparent? Other communities don't do this. The moment a plan is submitted and approved by the staff to be as, quote, officially submitted, that's put on the website. Well prior to Historic Preservation Commission, Planning and Zoning Commission, Committee of the Whole, even reviewing it. And that's when the conversation begins.
I noticed that in your bio, you were on the Historic Preservation Committee. How did that shape you?
It was a heck of a learning experience. I mean, this is back in 1990. This is a long time ago. Oh, my God, is that 40 years ago almost?
I don't know. You're only 40, so that can't be possible.
Allison, the producer, what's your answer? No comment? Thank you. It was Mayor Audley, Bill Audley, appointed me to the Historic Preservation Commission. A young man living in Geneva, just starting out kind of thing. It was a fascinating experience for a number of reasons. Number one, there was no television. There was no broadcasting of meetings. There was no real formal process. It was Kevin Burns and the other 4 members sitting around a table with the applicants sitting around the table talking about how we reach or how we get to either a yes or a resolution. And then as things became more sophisticated, the commissions and the committees, as you know, became more sophisticated as well. Open rules, open meetings acts, Robert's Rules of Orders, all that stuff. It became less of a group of friends talking about an issue to actually processing and adjudicating that issue. Historic preservation experience for me was fascinating because I was one of the younger members. I perceived things differently, of course. I didn't have the experience nor wisdom others did. But oftentimes those meetings, because they were not broadcast, because few people ever attended, they were oftentimes very candid and, if I may, theatrical. And it was intense. And then the decision was rendered, brought to the council, and all that was forgotten. Now, I can tune into all these meetings and see exactly what transpired. It's just a whole different level of, again, transparency.
Yeah, it's almost like it's limiting the ability to have meaningful conflict.
No question about it. No question about it.
People, because conflict is a critical part of efficient decision making.
It's healthy.
Yeah.
And the council, and I believe other councils as well, we have very passionate disagreements. We're still all colleagues and friends outside the council meetings. We may disagree with each other very strongly and have it out, as it were. And people are sometimes shocked at how passionate we become. I say welcome it, because otherwise we're just talking behind each other's backs, and that's not healthy at all.
Yeah. Be honest.
Be honest.
I think the social media has changed that as well, too, because then people are being not even honest. They're just being, and not making salient points and not informed points. But, you know, sometimes what's happening in Geneva.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, get some popcorn and read those comments.
And I don't participate in Facebook. And I've gotten messages saying, "Oh, look what they said about you." And it's like, if I go down that rabbit hole, I'll never come back. And it's just not worth it. That's the hardest thing for new legislators, new council members, Planning and Zoning Commission members, HPC members, SPAC members struggle with this. Oh, I'm really getting beat up on here.
Yeah.
Ignore it.
Yeah.
Your job is not to be swayed by, quote, that stuff, is to be presented by those who have the courage, the convictions to come to a public meeting and say, here's what I believe.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, again, how that relates to the conversations you had about, 9 out of 10 times people get an opportunity to say what they want to say to the person in person, and then that changes it. And then there's the one that sort of disappears. And, it feels like it's that one that disappears that continues to have a narrative in a social media Facebook group that, again, is not a collaborative conversation. But I don't know.
The social media environment ultimately expires in time. Mm-hmm. Now, I can find it all. You can look it up and see how vitriolic people were. But oftentimes, those who are most vitriolic invest their vitriol in that social media atmosphere, but never in person. Mm-hmm. What I find most surprising is men and women who come to council meetings and say things that you would never say other than in social media, and either forget, don't know, or don't care that you're being broadcast. Mm. It's extraordinary. I am held to a level of, if I say I never said that, I'm hoping somebody will say, let's go to the tape. Mm-hmm. And the same thing happens there. The email tone and tenor is different from the in-person tone and tenor.
Let's talk about the in-person tone and tenor a little bit. Let's talk about some of the city council meetings.
Sure.
You know, again, you've been doing this for 25 years. Are they getting more intense? Are they changing? Or has there always been passion?
There's always been passion. The passion is different now because the meetings are broadcast. And every council member, I think, would agree with the statement I'm about to make. In the old days, prior to broadcasting meetings lasted about an hour or so. And it doesn't mean that no one did the work prior to the meeting. It's just that people did the work, came to a decision, moved forward. Because there are the Klieg lights and live television, some, whether it be audience members, whether it be council members, think I should probably speak to this issue so that my constituents know I spoke to the issue, because the biggest criticism and the worst criticism I can receive is you're just a rubber stamp. I didn't hear you speak against, for, or ask a question about. And there's this propensity to say, well, I got to say something then. I got a question regarding this well.
Right.
Even if the question about the well is answered on page 4 of the executive memo, ask the question anyways, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of pressure for city council members and to make sure that the people that are voting for them feel as though they're doing the job that they need to do, asking the right questions and creating that space. But I would contend that maybe some of that can be done outside of the council meeting, and that it doesn't necessarily have to happen in that space.
And there's a way to introduce what has transpired in a respectful way. Mm-hmm. Before I cast my vote, I want to say thank you to all those who have reached out to me and said, this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my life. I respect your position. I disagree with it, however. There seems to be a desire to corral the crowds, regardless of whether they stand on an issue, bring the, quote, crowds in so that the other council members are A, surprised, caught off guard, or feel the pressure as well. Mm-hmm. And that's just the nature of the beast. Yeah. And I can receive 100 emails, and I'll respond to every one of them. And I challenge anyone on this broadcast to test me on that. But 100 people come to a meeting, everybody feels that. Mm-hmm. And then you see the debate shift a little bit, because it's very difficult to sit on this dais. Good to see you again, Bob. It's been a while. How are the kids? Yeah. Okay, fine. Burns vote no. I kind of like this. And of course, as you know, the mayor does not vote. Right. Only on 3 occasions. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. Again,
we've only voted on 3 occasions.
I'm allowed to vote to break a tie, on acquisition of land in terms of legal status, and or on annexation agreements. So if the debate is let's erect a statue of our good friend Allison from South Elgin on the middle of 3rd Street, and the vote is called, I'm not even called to vote on it. Mm-hmm. That's a council decision, unless there's a tie. And then the mayor gets to break the tie.
Do you have any memorable ties from the past 25 years?
Do I ever? Some are still lingering out there. I think one of my proudest moments of breaking a tie was to support the development of Bash restaurant downtown Geneva.
Delicious choice.
Delicious choice.
I approve.
The chicken debate in Geneva, it came to a tie twice, and I voted no both times. There's been other issues where it's human nature. The ballots are being cast at the council level, and all of a sudden you think, uh-oh, this could be a tie. Now, if I say uh-oh, that means I haven't even thought about the issue, and that's not fair to anybody. So oftentimes you know in advance, not because you're counting votes, but you sense that, okay, this will be either passed or defeated or whatever the case may be. But when things start to percolate or even erupt, you know it's going to be a tight vote. So you darn well better, as facilitator of that meeting, know what's coming. Otherwise, you look like a knucklehead. Oh my gosh, it's a tie. I say, I don't know. That's ridiculous. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
So you have to have a deep wealth of knowledge about a lot of things in order to do what you're doing.
And you have to trust and have faith in your professional staff, first and foremost.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. I think most people don't really understand or appreciate the work that the city administration does.
It's impressive. If you spent a day with our Director of Community Development, our Director of Economic Development, our Director of Public Works, our Chief of Police, our Chief of Fire, our Director of Finance, our City Administrator, I think you would be shocked at the volume of work and the expectation that that volume is managed properly and that they are the chat GPT of the city. Oh, I know, I'll call Alex. Or, oh, I know, I'll call the chief. And oftentimes, sometimes the chief will say, hey, let me get back to you on that. Yeah. Perfect example. Those doggone kids on those scooters.
Oh, boy.
When's that new law going to take effect so we can start ticketing everybody?
Yeah.
Well, that's not how it works. But there's oftentimes issues just like that. I got a call from my neighbor. He or she complained regarding leaves on the ground. When are they being picked up?
I mean,
yeah. You live in a neighborhood with lots of leaves.
We get that conversation comes around every year.
All the time.
All the time.
That's amazing.
You know?
Yeah, it's amazing.
And my understanding is that sometimes you'll just show up and do it for them.
I will. I picked up some recycling this weekend, in fact.
Did you?
Our friends at our waste hauler, whoopsie daisy. And of course, they have challenges too.
Right.
So I'm more than happy. Again, call me if you need your recycling picked up. I'll pick it up for you. Your garbage, I'll pick it up for you. I mow the post office lawn. Yeah. I do all that. I got to do that tonight.
Do you mow the post office lawn?
I do.
What are you're using a push mower? You drive
nice electric mower or push mower. Oh, absolutely. The call started coming in that why isn't anyone taking care of the post office lawn? And we did not succeed in convincing whomever that it should be done at least every couple of weeks. So I just thought I'm going to do it myself.
Okay.
I do it.
Didn't get that budget.
Yeah. And of course it's the post office, so it's sometimes challenging. Yeah. But that's fine. So I'm happy to take care of it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
Oh, it's fun.
Again.
It's fun, especially when people drive by and go, "Oh my God."
Yeah. I think
Burns is in trouble again, or something. It's like,
community service.
Yeah, exactly. Community. What's my ankle bracelet?
But it's it's community service by choice.
It is.
I think that's the other thing, particularly on Tri-City Talk, that we're trying to exemplify and talk about is, this is your community. You live here too. And I love to create an opportunity where we're celebrating people who are giving back, the creators, and not the critics, because it's really easy to just be flippant about things that are happening. It's so easy to just be like, why is it happening this way? Why isn't the post office being mowed? Why is this not being shoveled?
It's very easy.
And there's something therapeutic about taking that responsibility. I mean, that is being the change. When we talk about be the change, that's it. You see something that you don't like. Well, what's preventing you from doing that?
I agree. It's a well, I probably shouldn't go on that property and do that, and I probably shouldn't. Well, that seems like a lot of work, and yes, oftentimes it is for a lot of folks. I get that. Yeah. Our challenge in Geneva and elsewhere is oftentimes folks who are aging in place, they have those additional challenges.
Absolutely.
Why isn't the sidewalk in front of Mr. Burns' home shoveled? Well, Mr. Burns is, in a position where he can't get out now.
Absolutely.
And that's tough. That's very tough. In our position as a community is we're not out there ticketing people right away. Our position is educate, then enforce. Back to the scooter issue.
Right.
So it's incredible.
So is the scooter conversation the biggest conversation you're having right now? And is it the e-bikes or is it the scooters?
Well, both. It's the e-bikes and the debate's framed on, my God, these kids are going to hurt themselves or somebody else. Oh my gosh, they don't have helmets. Oh my gosh, they're going too fast. Oh my gosh, we got to do something. The state passed a law. July 1, phase 1 of that law takes place. Then the entire law takes place on January 1st, 2027. So it's
what is the law? Is it prohibitive on public trails, or
well, they're all prohibited on public trails and sidewalks.
Okay.
But I can understand this argument. But on the sidewalks in the Randall Square subdivision, which is meant for recreation, I'd rather have them on the sidewalk than in the streets.
Right.
Okay. Well, the new law says you have to be 16 years old to ride these things.
Okay.
And the new bikes have to have regulators. You can only go a certain speed. So it's one of those issues that just out of nowhere happened.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, I have a 14-year-old and 12-year-old boy, and so this is really very relevant in my household.
Yeah, it's fascinating,
and I'm constantly saying no to getting an e-bike, for my 12-year-old who just wants to ride around the streets of Geneva.
That's cool, man.
He wants a scooter or a motorcycle,
I know.
And that's just not the space where we live. It's not a safe opportunity for him, for sure.
Well, you got that big hill next to your house, too.
I do. I do, right at the top.
And if anybody wants the address of where Winnie lives, text me.
Yeah. The top of the hill.
Top of the hill.
I notice that every time I walk to downtown Geneva, I got to make that trek back up the hill on the way back.
The way home's always tough.
It is.
It's always tough.
It is. All right. So, Mayor Burns, Kevin,
please.
Kevin, what closing thoughts do you have for us today?
A couple messages. And I must admit, and this is not obsequious, but because Allison's with us, I want the listeners to know, particularly those younger listeners, that do not listen to anyone who says to you, this isn't your time. You got a lot of talent, but you're just too young. Why don't you worry about that later? Get involved. It doesn't matter if it's the city, park district, library district, township, doesn't matter. Contribute whatever time and talent you have, because I guarantee you the rewards are going to be far greater than the effort provided. And get to know who these folks are on each of these boards and develop, as best you can, a personal relationship. There is no greater reward I have as being mayor than hanging out in the elementary schools, the middle schools, and the high schools, talking about, what this weird title of mayor is. Mm-hmm. There's now kids in their 40s who, they still call me Mr. Burns, which is upsetting. Mm-hmm. But I hope my contribution is that I've made City Hall and city government less mysterious and cloaked in darkness, that I've shown a light and it's like, oh, it's just another guy or another lady doing this part-time gig as best they can with the information they have. That's all it's about.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm now back to my high school weight.
Right. Yeah, it's hot in here.
Because the hot in here.
It's toasty. It's toasty.
No, it's wonderful. Sure. Thank you, and thank you, Allison.
This is Winnie Frankel from Tri-City Talk. Thank you for listening. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok as tricity.talk, on Facebook and YouTube as Tri-City Talk, and you can listen in for the next episode wherever you get your podcasts. And let's keep the conversation going.